Hey everyone, I hope you're doing all okay, and I thought today to spice things up I would do a Midway review, or a Kara review. So, I know a lot of people watch like videos of like top tier and so on, or all these carriers who are like Super Unicum or Flamu, or I don't know, not Flamu, yeah, probably, or Knots, or all these Unicum players, but I'm just basically sort of a, not really top Unicum, but like average player, so I'll just do a review based on that. So let's take a look at the Midway. Overall, I think the Midway is a pretty good looking ship. It does look a bit cumbersome as the size is enormous. And got these dual mounts over here that are, I don't really like single mounts. I like dual mount 5-inch cannons, but it's just an aesthetic thing. So let's start off with the air group. That's the most important thing. I'm currently running the Tiny Tims, and at Midway, I would say the Tiny Tims are less effective than Lexington's Tiny Tims for attacking destroyers because the spread of the Midway Tiny Tims is actually pretty big. And tier 10 some destroyers, the Shimakaze, they're really sleek on the ground and they're daring and they're just really hard to hit, especially when you're trying to do those tight turns around onto a destroyer and the reticle just doesn't properly line up into the most accurate mode. So Tiny Tims, of course, really effective against cruisers and battleships. Do hurt when they hit a destroyer, but the accuracy can be questionable, so I might try out the HVAR because I did like the Corsair HVARs, the stock ones, when I started using them. They were pretty good for lining up destroyer. You can get a pretty juicy hit of 9,000 damage on them. And the only con is they're slower, they have less HP, and they just die a lot easier compared to Tiny Tims, which in terms of survivability at tier 10s, you need something that's stronger. And as for torpedo bombers, I'm going with the destroyers. Obviously, Sky Raider is preferred by some people because of its flexibility and aiming time. It actually has a smaller aiming time than the destroyers. But the destroyers, I would say, are good at tier 10 because a lot of ships at tier 10, especially cruisers and battleships, some of them love to be stationary and sit in the back and snipe. And the good thing about the destroyer is if you can catch someone just sitting there and you can take your time to line up the reticle. It does take a long time to line up the reticle, so this is not good for people who are moving really fast. Or if you're a type of person who wants to adjust your reticle when you're already committed to the attack run. Not a good recommendation for any of these bombers to use them, but when you're using them against solid targets that are just sitting there, this thing can land 6 torpedoes. I know the damage is pretty abysmal, but a good salvo, maybe 10k damage, a little bit more than that, 12k, 14k. And so the bulk of your damage is going to come from attrition, which is fires, floodings, yeah, that type of stuff. So dive bombers, obviously you don't want to stick with the stock dive bombers because nothing's good about them. The destroyers actually have improved reload time by like once. I know it's really insignificant. It's like a couple 7 seconds. Yeah, 7 seconds. You have a bigger squad. They're faster, and compared to the A, and you drop more bombs. Basically, you have a bigger squad, more bombs. And the destroyers, AM-M66 compared to Lexington, AM-M65. Lexington has a 1,000 pound bomb and you have a 2,000 pound bomb, meaning that you'll do probably significantly more damage, or theoretically twice as much damage. And it is true though, because in a Midway, if you hit someone really hard with these dive bombers, you can get at least 20k, and that's pretty significant. If you're unlucky, well, you'll just get the net regular pen damage, and it's not a lot. Okay, upgrades. Obviously, ammunitions and consumables, I'll stock, because ever since the rework, everything's just premium. Upgrades, air groups modification 1, because you need to get planes quicker, back to your aircraft to resupply. And I think I forgot to mention this, but Midway planes are ridiculously slow, so yeah. Torpedo bomber modification to increase the aim speed, because honestly these torpedo bombers take forever to line up their reticles accurately. Dive bombers, obviously I want to focus on dive bomber health, so because they're my primary damage dealing source, so I want to give them extra HP. Flight control mod, basically essential. You should always pick this if you're playing an aircraft carrier, just so you can get more planes on deck. And obviously air groups modification to increase your HP of your aircraft. You could get flight control modification, but you know, for speed and attack, but you know, air groups is just more worth it in the end. Your AA is pretty phenomenal against lower tier CVs. okay against high tier. It says the Midway is like impervious to air attack, but that's highly debatable because it will shoot down some planes, but at tier 10 you won't shoot down that many planes. Secondaries, you have 18 of these 5-inch guns, but you know they're not really going to do jack because secondary accuracy on most ships is ridiculously horrible. I swear, like even at 2 kilometers, secondary accuracy is disgustingly bad. So armor. Cool thing about Midway is it has 90 or 87mm deck armor, so you will bounce shells from battleships, AP shells, cruisers. If they're fired at you, they'll just bounce. Vulnerable parts, this little superstructure right here. The sides are very vulnerable, so if you're attacking the Midway, try to aim from the sides. Citadel actually sits a fair bit above the water in the center of the ship, so if you aim here, you can get some really juicy hits. But you know, if you try to aim for the deck or pummel it, you're not going to do much. Concealment. Midway has pretty crap concealment. This is almost on par with Frederick de Gross at 15.6 kilometers, I think. So you're actually pretty susceptible to CV sniping at the start of the game. For commander skills, I have a 17-point commander right now, and 17 points is generally, I would say, enough for all the important things you would need in a Midway or American carrier. So obviously air supremacy would go air supremacy first. You need this, it's essential for any aircraft carrier. And then improved engines, because American planes are kind of slow. Next, aircraft armor. And then before you get sight stabilization, if you're playing Lexington or Ranger, I would say you get air survivability expert. Because at lower tiers, the sight stabilization for all aircraft is actually significantly lower. It's just the Midway that was just like humongous torpedo bomber aiming times. So this is like one of the last things you would probably get after the survivability, last gasp, torpedo excel, and then say engine boost, and then sight stabilization.
General quarters.
Alright, so as always, we're starting off with our rocket bombers, just to get off, to make sure to scout for DDs. And I know this matchmaking might seem a bit more interesting than others because, as you can see, Wargaming was generous enough to provide me a lot of battleships to farm. Not a lot of enemy AA cruisers, some destroyers, not that bad. So rocket planes. As you can see, as I was talking about in the review of the rockets for the Tiny Tims, look how big that reticle is. It's humongous, even though we are in the... We're just cruising around, but as you will see, this reticle does get quite tiny when you aim down properly, but if you're making a sharp turn and you don't have enough time, this reticle is going to stay big like that.
Get back!
Spotted the enemy Hakuru. I'm trying to tell our... is that our Kleber? Yeah, our Kleber to get back because he's just going to get melted. Hakuru, but luckily he's in this enormous AA zone that some rockets do connect, but the Hakuru takes a pretty heavy loss, so I think we're in a pretty good spot. Trying to get some spotting for the team right here. This is where I kind of forget to drop fighters. This would have been a great place to drop fighters, but the Shima's starting to turn his AA on. And see, that was a mistake by Shima. So sometimes, I don't know why people at tier 10, especially destroyers who have such good concealment, would turn their AA on. It's honestly, in my opinion, sort of dumb because you're exposing yourself instead of... See, this guy could have just avoided taking that damage right there, but instead he just showed himself. 3 rocket plane hits, probably like, let's say, 20% of this guy's health, and look how huge this reticle is. None of those are gonna actually a few of those do luckily hit, 3 of those actually, so the rest of my planes are gonna get lost to flak, so we're gonna immediately just start off with a torpedo bomber run.
Maintaining present course.
Torpedo bombers are going up. I'm just gonna speed through this part over here because it's just some cruising. As you can tell, Midway planes ridiculously slow, 132 knots. Kind of spoiled by Graf Zeppelin's 225 knot planes. Trying to position myself better just in case of flank falls. You can see that no one's really pushing the bottom flank, so I'm just gonna move my planes there. Now we're getting into Thunder and Kurfist. try to get a nice drop in, making sure to line up our reticle. You can see that really nice, clean lineup right there. It's gonna fly over now. So with a continuous A damage, it really hurts your planes. I'm losing. Look how quickly I'm losing these planes. I'm not even gonna be able to get. I might be able to get a second drop in. I think I actually do get a second drop in. It's only one plane. We did heavily damage the Thunder. He did prematurely use his damage control, so he's gonna be suffering from 2 floodings. Enemy Hakuru over here sees me, so I think his purpose here is to drop those fires there, try to let some of his battleships try to snipe me from behind. And here, instead of running away, actually I go toward the planes because I kind of want to get rid of this thing that's spotting me. And I know my A is pretty decent enough to obviously handle fighters, because fighters have some really poor HP pools when taking flag fire. So we're chopping up Hakuru's little fighters right there. Not going to be able to do much.
Taking fire.
Just chopping up his fighters.
Fighter airborne. Engaging enemy.
Do get lucky and clip him in the tail right there. As you can see, he's not really surrounded by any significant AA support, so I'm just going to try to turn around and get a drop on him. Combine A of him and the Shimakaze is actually enough to down a lot of my rocket planes. We only end up getting 1 more in, but it's a perfect 3. Set another fire on him. Hopefully his damage control is not online. You can see that it is online.
Airborne.
So I hope you guys can all see this, but I'm trying to get another hit. Trying to get another hit on the Hindenburg. It is quite low, so that will be a plus for us if we're able to do some damage on him.
Allied aircraft need fire support.
Once again, I'm repositioning myself constantly on the map. It's
Capture
something
that area.
you should always be doing in a carrier. Should either try to get far away from the action that's coming towards you, or in the case of your winning, try to push in as much as you can so your squad time is reduced. World's no problem dodging that flak. Perfect lineup right there, but you know, sometimes it might hit or miss a couple. Hindenburg is desperately trying to repel my aircraft. He is doing pretty well. I'm gonna try to get this last drop in before my plane gets shot down, and when we do get that last drop in, sadly, this reticle's too big. I'm actually taking this extra time over here to reposition myself properly because, as we mentioned before, BTT destroyer torpedo site stabilization is quite poor, so it requires some preparation and thought of which angle you're gonna attack from. I'm kind of considering the Montana right now because he's Kerfus is next to the Hindi. Then I realized that it might be a worthless option chasing the Monty because he's already running, and this Hindi is aggressively pushing into our cap. You kind of see how on the map right there, our booster is kind of alone there, and I don't want him to get overrun by this Kerfus because this Kerfus can surely take on the booster by itself single-handedly. This is where we start the attack run within 5.4 or 5.8 kilometers. Slow down so the planes have time to adjust their aiming reticles, and here we're getting that nice reticle adjustment. Kerfus is not trying to dodge, he's just honestly staying in a straight line. And there we go, we're gonna get 6 perfect hits on him. Try to go in for another run right here. Hopefully the Hindi won't shoot on the planes. With that 11k damage, not bad. Site stabilization might need some work. Just gonna drop it early just in case the Kerfus turns in, because if it is turning in, we don't want those torpedoes to not arm. At this point, you know, I can kind of see that we're winning, so moving my planes in to intercept, or not, sorry, moving my ship in so I can get some sorties out faster. Ever since they nerfed the slingshotting mechanic, one of the important things to do is to, in order to slingshot to your target, you have to attack from a probably start the attack run at 9 kilometers, and then your next one should fall around their 5.8 range, which is their start of their 8 range. Got some very decent damage there. We hit all of our bombs. 2 didn't penetrate, sadly, but did some major damage to the Kerfus, and the Kerfus does get barbecued by our friendly Kerfus. Next target is Republic. Plane's already steaming and being a bit peltered, so we're just gonna try to fly around. Enemy flak to the left.
All forces, capture that area.
Lots of
They provide anti-aircraft fire support.
Alright, we're gonna go in the Republic or one last armor. Let's see if we get the drop in before our plane dies.
Taking
Get the
fire.
drop in.
Fighter airborne.
Bad RNG.
Fighter destroyed.
Torpedo bombers.
Attention. Reporting the target
One thing to know
position.
is you should always save. Try to save as many torpedo bombers as you can for the end game, because at the end game, a lot of ships are alone. Their A's all like destroyed, crusty, and then you could just easily get some drops in who are just kiting away or trying to retreat. I'm gonna go for this Montana right here because there's actually a chance for collaterals with these 6 torpedoes. There is someone hiding in the
Approaching
smoke,
target.
so pop the heel when you see the flak right in front of you. Going in. Make sure it's lined up. Drops the torps. We get some hit on the
Taking
DD that might be
fire.
camping in there. Don't, unfortunately, but we do get 4 hits on the Montana. Does knock out his rudder, I believe, or one of
Engaging
his main
enemy.
batteries. Get some more planes going in. Get another drop right
We're
here.
under attack.
Enemy Haku is desperately trying to sink our Kerfus, but I would say that's the least of his
Airborne.
problems right now, because there is a huge presence up in the, I would say, northern section of the map.
Fighter airborne.
Dodge the flak.
Engaging enemy.
We're dropping on Montana and moving to town. Hindenburg just conveniently happens to be right next to him, so we're gonna get the train drop on him,
Our team has taken the lead.
slowing down so our reticle can line up. Just hit on him.
Returning to
Fire.
ship. Taking fire.
Crew's probably out of fighters. He can't do
Fighter
anything about
returning
these
to ship.
ones. Indy luckily has a catapult fighter up. That's gonna do some work. Catapult
Engaging
fighter is
enemy.
doing some insane work. People say it's pretty much useless, but you'd be surprised how many
We're
planes it
under
shoots
attack.
down. 2 hits.
Returning to ship. Taking fire.
And at this point, I'm just trying to launch another rocket bomber squad. But
Maintaining
it is
present
already
course.
way too late because we are basically beating them to death. This Hindi is going to go down, I think. I'm not even sure if I have the time to get a drop in before he goes down.
We're under fighter airborne.
It does go down, and at this point, I'm trying to find the DD. There he is, but game's over, and yep. So, 155k damage, 1 destroyed. Do get pretty much the top leaderboard. Decent amount of credits right here. Do lose a lot. Detailed report. Did lose a lot of planes. We lost 55 planes. Yeah, thank you for watching.